Singapore is a glamorous city-state where people are constantly on the move and time is a scarce resource. Life can be stressful due to long working hours and the ever-increasing competition. The mad race towards materialistic comforts has left people distracted with very little time to focus on their mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Fortunately, in the midst of this ocean of materialism lies an island of spiritual excellence. In the 1960s, at the time of the hippie movement in the United States, there was a growing distrust of societal norms and rebellion against the establishment. At this time, a little-known elderly Indian saint, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, crossed the oceans against all odds and sparked a remarkable spiritual revolution which rapidly spread across the world. The seed of this spiritual movement was sown in the 1980s in Singapore by a few of his disciples, which over the years has fructified into a huge shade-giving tree in the form of a devotional community.
Krishna consciousness started off sometime in the 70s in Singapore. Very small number of congregational members. The congregation actually sprouted very slowly, to be very frank, because Singapore is a working community and to have a full-scale congregation wasn't possible at that time. We're in different pockets of the island, having small house programs, inviting devotees, offering them prasadam, and then from there onwards it sprouted into 2 or 3 places in Singapore.
In the early 90s, we started trying to have programs in the Waterloo Street Krishnan Temple. 1988, 1989. That was an attempt to have a standard, proper program the way Prabhupada gave us in a temple atmosphere. So we booked a hall and we did it. But then what happened after a while was we began to grow. And then the temple said, look, we don't have enough space. So then we moved over to this temple known as the Kalang Gasworks Temple. It's actually Manmada Karuneshwar Temple. So we were given a small space and there we would have maybe 15 devotees. And that's the first time we started having ladies coming for the congregation program. So in the beginning it was all boys basically, and so the prasadam was very simple. I remember it was just the fruits and the milk. But when the ladies came into the picture, we were the beneficiaries because suddenly they were now planning menus. So we continued for a while there, but then our kirtans were loud, and sometimes the temple said, you know, people start coming here, they don't come to the temple, and then we became bigger.
After many years, we started a small program in Perumal Temple and then Lakshmana Temple concurrently, and the shed outside Perumal Temple.
Perumal Temple used to have a shed, an old unused shed, and we paid $30. We were all students at that time. After a while, the shed the management decided that we couldn't use the shed any longer. And so we were really worried. That day we thought, we had so little time, we were given so little notice where to go. And I remember going to Lakshmana Temple, sitting there and chanting. The chairman of the temple came up to me and said, you all from the Hare Krishnas? I said, yes, we are. Actually, we like you all to chant here, looking for you all. And I thought, my God, Krishna is really kind. So then we moved over to Lakshmana Temple.
Quite a number of years we were actually anchored in Lakshmi Narayan Temple for Saturday programs.
Lakshmana Temple became the source of so many nice programs. Upstairs we served prasadam, downstairs we had programs. And that's where the congregation really grew.
And simultaneously on Sundays?
Yes, on Sundays.
We were at the Ram Temple. Our Srimad Bhagavatam classes used to happen there, and we would pray that day the temple didn't have a wedding, because if it had a wedding with all those loud noises, we had to really listen to Bhagavatam very, very carefully because it was difficult to focus.
So when we started off in Ram Temple, I think we were less than 10 of us, devotees altogether, including His Grace Devakinandan Prabhu. The earlier days, we also participated in the book fairs, international book festivals, where I used to be wearing, full tie suit and everything and selling books like a salesperson. I remember selling the book to Sukadev Prabhu, Chandrasekhar Prabhu. I preached to them. So it was at that time, and Now they are all full-time devotees like that.
We realized, Prabhu, that we couldn't keep moving like this because we were at the mercy of the temples.
So we started smaller programs in Perumal Temple and Lakshmana Temple.
Because we used to have Julan Yatra at our place for Radha Madan Mohan, and the queue will outround the balcony, outround the house, outround the balcony, and go to the lift lobby.
Members of the Gujarati society were people that were known to us, and we used to use this place to host some of our programs in the past. So we knew of the place, we'd used it a few times, but we never imagined that this would be available to us. So one of the things we did was to ask the Gujarati society. He said, look, your place is sort of available, would you be able to give it to us? He says, yeah, we should be able to give you the top floor.
So we talked to the devotees. We had 3-4 weeks of discussion because we needed to move up the Lakshmi contribution. We needed to make sure that we had enough of a commitment before we moved. But all the devotees were very cooperative. We had the blessings of all the spiritual masters who guided us, and our GBCs and everyone. And finally we made that move.
And that was the beginning of it. It almost seemed to fall in our lap. I guess it was Jagannath's will for us to be here. And we haven't really looked back. And from hiring just the sort of top floor where the deities are today, to today the entire building, Gita Gujarati Society has been very kind in allowing us to use the entire building.
8 years, 9 years back, we didn't have any concept, we didn't have any source of contribution. So we asked devotees, the senior devotees, they ran a drive asking whether we are willing to take and contribute so that we can hire a place, and everybody came and pitched in. So that's how it's a close family, and everybody started contributing.
Within months of moving into the Cuff Road Center, Gita Reading Society got its very own deities.
And at that time we only had Panchatattva pictures. And then one fine day, Narottam Prabhu called us and said, I'm bringing Jagannath from Bengal. He's coming through Puri, coming through Mayapur, and he'll come to Singapore. And before we knew it, the deities just arrived.
So I have good friend in Puri, in Temple Pujari. So then I called him, so he said, yeah, deities is there, but need to be slightly touch up. So when coming back, then three of them are put in the nicely packed in the box, one box. Then Singapore also very nicely. We get, that was I think couple of days in my place where we are staying. Then after that our devotees came and they saw them, were very nice, everyone happy, then finally installed.
It was a big fire sacrifice we did, inviting the Lord, and then after that the utsavas just started rolling out.
A temple is not simply a structure made of 4 walls and supported on a foundation, but rather a devotional community based on some fundamental guiding principles. So what are the underlying principles behind the phenomenal success of Gita Reading Society in providing physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual shelter to the people of Singapore?
These foundational principles are actually founded themselves on the basis of Srimad Bhagavatam, Vaishnava etiquette, Vaishnava culture. The first important principle is the spirit of cooperation. When we talk about cooperation, we actually mean unity in diversity. Because cooperation actually implies that we're all different. So that's the diverse part of us. We all have different natures. And Bhagavatam tells us that different people have different mentalities. We have to all work together for a common cause, and that we're all under Srila Prabhupada. And this cooperation implies that each one of us is different. We are diverse, and yet we should celebrate our differences. We should celebrate diversity on the basis of unity. The second thing that's very important is, in order to build on this cooperation, you actually build on it in real time by the spirit of service. Because only when we work together to serve Jagannath do we actually learn to cooperate. So actually one flows after the other. So the spirit of service is so important, and this service should be done in a loving manner. It should be done in a manner where we are not judgmental of each other. Service should not mean that we come out of a service disturbed, but actually we should become very peaceful in service. So if you have good cooperation, you get good service, then service becomes very pleasing when there's no fault finding. That's the third principle. And we should see good in the devotees. Because every time we find a fault in others, we can see it because it's actually in us. There's a saying that goes, it takes a thief to know a thief. All these three actually will lead to the basis of how we get these three. And these three we can get actually if we have serious study of Bhagavatam, serious study of Srila Prabhupada's books, and our sadhana must be very nice. So one thing that's emphasized in our society is we should never ignore our sadhana, because we should have Bhagavatam in one hand and we should have duster in the other hand. But Bhagavatam is very important, because it is on the basis of Bhagavatam that we become purified. If we didn't have Bhagavatam, then these principles that we discussed earlier actually can be found in any social entity. It becomes social service, it is not spiritual.
One of the key founding principles of Gita Reading Society is the study of Vedic knowledge through books written by Srila Prabhupada.
One of the peculiarities about Singapore congregation is that we have these study groups, because we get to come together in the temple only once a week during the weekends, whereas Bhagavatam is supposed to be done daily. It's a daily thing. And Deity Prabhu he is the one who started all of this many years ago in his house. But of course, ever since he started traveling and all that, he distributed this to other parts of Singapore. So that really keeps us alive, because sometimes the classes, big classes, we cannot really discuss at detail, right? We have to go, because we have common people also coming for the program. So we can't really discuss about very, very detailed or intricacies of devotional service, which is possible when in a smaller group we can discuss. And it really helps. Personally, it's helped me a lot, and I also hear from devotees that is very useful. We get down to the details. So Maharaj gave us a way of studying Bhagavatam or Prabhupada's books, that you take the verse, then you go to the word-to-word equivalence, then translation, then purport, and then take out some key points and discuss. And that's been the pivotal point of Singapore congregation, yes. Keeping Bhagavatam in the center and always emphasizing. And it's not something that is philosophizing, but how to practically put in your life.
Even for Matajis, we have Radhika Mataji conducting the Nitya Leela classes, where the prayers are taken from Bhagavatam. Every week we have just one verse and it's in full detail. Like now we are doing Kunti Mata prayers. So from different verses are quoted from different chapters of Bhagavatam, and it's how the relation between the chapters take place, how Bhagavatam is all about glorification of Krishna. So when we approach Bhagavatam, we should approach in a way that we have to glorify Krishna, and practically how it will improve our character on a day-to-day basis. So this is what is taught and hammered to us right from the beginning.
Nobody will be attracted. They will see a great dichotomy between what we are preaching and what we are not practicing. And that is going to lose credibility for the movement. Why today, no matter how many differences our movement has, no one can fault Srila Prabhupada. Why? Because whatever Prabhupada spoke, Prabhupada did. Isn't it true? Look at our spiritual masters, whatever our acharyas, whatever they say, they have done. Look at the personalities in Bhagavatam. Whatever they spoke in the shlokas, later on you see they acted. They acted. So there must always be the connection between Bhagavatam and the behavior. These are the most important things we must embrace. Whenever we speak anything to do with Bhagavad Gita, we should speak it in the chain of its sixth. We should not speak it from the top of our head. Oh, in Bhagavad Gita it is said that this. Where is it said? Which verse is it said? Where is the purport? And read the purport.
Gita Reading Society also encourages its members to register for Bhakti Shastri courses and Advanced Shastra Study courses.
So in Singapore, we started this Bhakti Shastri program in last February. And in our batch, we have 22 students. And I could see the devotees here are very much enthusiastic to study Prabhupada's books in a systematic manner. And as I have been teaching here, I could see a lot of genuine interest have been shown from the leaders level also to educate the devotees according to Prabhupada's mode and mission.
And the last foundational principle that I think is really important is that we always request devotees not to depend on external circumstances. The moment we depend on external circumstances, then we get caught by this idea in Bhagavatam known as material designation. So when we come to Gauranga Center, it doesn't matter where we've come from, what our background is, and who we are. But once we come here, put aside all external circumstances, all external designations, and just become servant of the servant.
The principle of not depending on external circumstances is relevant in the context of soliciting sponsorships for various programs conducted.
Sponsorship is always a challenge, but if you appeal to the devotee's heart and you explain to them how Lakshmi that is used in service of Krishna is infinitely more peaceful and more relishing. Because if you don't use it for Krishna, you use it for Maya. But Prabhu, it is our culture in Singapore that we don't do a major donation drive. We never have. We've always believed that the source of income is not the source of maintenance. It's a sentence that Prabhupada used in the purport in Chaitanya Charitamrita in the episode of Narada and the hunter Mrigari. And Prabhupada says, we earn the income, but income doesn't maintain us. It's Krishna who maintains us.
One of the major challenges that confronts a fledgling spiritual organization is to maintain unity and diversity within a multi-guru framework. Gita Reading Society has successfully navigated this challenge by encouraging its members to be respectful to all spiritual masters while being committed to one's own guru by keeping Srila Prabhupada in the center.
Actually, when Prabhupada was present, he was the only Acharya. So everyone was Prabhupada's disciple. And after Prabhupada left, everyone is somebody else's disciple.
Like we have around like 22 gurus disciples in Singapore, and the cooperation among themselves, that inspires us.
We always say that both of us were so fallen that we needed two Guru Maharajs to carry us. But I think the most important aspect of why Singapore is such a vibrant Krishna conscious congregation is because of His Grace Devkinandan Prabhu. I think the leadership he provides and the way he keeps everyone together is one of the main reasons for us to be so closely bound with each other, irrespective of whom we have taken Diksha from.
So one very important thing that we have tried to do in Singapore is to put Srila Prabhupada as our founder Acharya in the center. So emphasis on Prabhupada's unique position in our movement and in our lives is one way to ensure that even though we may be in a multi-guru system, like in Singapore, all the devotees are united on the platform of serving Srila Prabhupada.
Guru is one, and they come in different forms, and they preach the same concept of Krishna consciousness throughout the world. We have an understanding that we are working for Srila Prabhupada's common goal of spreading Krishna consciousness, and that's what the spiritual masters are all talking about.
Even in the Mataji's classes, I think we emphasize that what is important is really this idea of the Guru principle being one.
We encourage all devotees of all disciples of different gurus to have Vyas Puja programs in the center. They then are given an opportunity to speak about their spiritual master. The congregation is given an opportunity to hear a lecture from the spiritual master. At the very start, when devotees come in or when they want to be initiated by someone, we make sure that the leadership spends time with them and makes them appreciate that you may take shelter of a spiritual master, but it should not be at the expense of denouncing or criticizing others.
One of the unique characteristics of the Gita Reading Society is that it has no resident devotees. This means that the entire temple administration is managed by the householders themselves.
Even though we have no resident devotees here, who can take care of the temple, we decided that whatever we can, let's make use of all resources. And that's why you have this rota basis going on here. Everything is on a roster. Sometimes it can be challenging, but more often than not, the overriding factor is every devotee must somehow or other be engaged.
The grihasthas, they come in, working adults, in Singapore being a working community, seamlessly, working in a roster, a duty roster where they do actually service in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and Shaina Arati and so on. So it's just clockwork. And of course disciples of different Maharajas. So we're able to actually seamlessly join them and preach on behalf of Sri Prabhupada.
I think the first thing is they really have their heart dedicated to Krishna. They have come here to work hard in Singapore, long working hours, but because they are such wonderful devotees, they have decided that better I spend my free time for Krishna. And when everyone thinks that way, each one has 2 hours. If you add all that, it becomes many hours in the day.
Gita Reading Society hosts many large festivals for the public throughout the year. These festivals showcase the efficacy of guiding principles such as cooperation among devotees.
Festivals, it's for the devotees. Yeah, we could have festivals, very sweet festivals, just few devotees, observing the whole entire day, But then the idea of having this festival out in somewhere that can house like 1,000 more people is actually for devotees to get together. So basically, there are few festivals in our Vaishnava calendar that we follow that actually cannot be done in the center because there will be we have to get in more crowd. Most of the times for Gaur Purnima, Nrsimhadev Tatudasi and Janmashtami, Krishna Janmashtami, usually we use Kalsa. We were with them almost like 15 years, So our first event was actually Gaur Purnima. It was a smaller scale Gaur Purnima, but we didn't have a center previously, so we had our first event there. So ever since then we had made good relationships with them, because as devotees we are very clean and in our behavior and whatever we do.
So Narada decided in Bhagavatam that he would hasten the process. So he speaks to Kamsa and he tells him that Krishna is so powerful that he may not even come in the form of the 8th child.
Typically, Gaur Purnima and Janmashtami would have almost like 1,000 people. We usually cook prasadam for 1,300 to 1,00005 people. Yeah. And then always gets finished. So we know that many people have taken prasadam. Managing a festival is actually, to a person outside, it looks very difficult, especially a big event. But because we are such a strong set of devotees, so many devotees who are talented, they are all leaders in their own rights, right? So it makes our life easier, where we can get so many devotees being in charge of a lot of services. If you put everything together, the festival runs very nicely and without any issues.
When you come inside, it is not your rich or poor, what title has got no meaning. It's only one name, Krishna. And then people just forget about everything else. Like I said, they completely immersed in the music, in the ambience, in front of the goddess, God in front of him. And then they just dance, sing, whatever it is. And you can't see any inhibitions here.
This is probably the first time that I've been here. And the energy is just fantastic.
It's actually the bhajans which draw me here. Those last 1 hour of bhajan is just too good.
Holding large festivals outside the Cuff Road Center means that the deities of Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra need to be moved to the location of the event. This is a challenge that the team of pujaris have taken on with great enthusiasm.
So generally we invite deities of other devotees, generally Sudarshan Prabhu's deities or Balkrishna Prabhu's deities or other deities. During festivals usually they come and we kind of have them as the main deities for that particular program.
So they carry the deities, and our deities are not small deities. So it's not easy to carry them. You can see it one way that we don't have a big hall here, correct? Then we could have held it here. But you can see it another way that, President says in nice that Jagannath wants to give mercy through this way. That okay, you carry him, then you bring him back.
Due to the fact that the Gita Reading Society does not have any resident devotees, the deity worship is conducted on a roster basis by the householders themselves.
In the purport to 3.2.22 of Bhagavatam, Prabhupada very clearly at the beginning itself, it very clearly says that for householders, the path of deity worship is very essential. It's very much required. In Singapore, we are spoiled for choices. We have so much of service that your own enthusiasm is the limit. We have various devotees coming for example, Mangala Arati, Shringara Arati, Guru Puja, Rajbhog service, Gaur Arati, Shayan Arati and Shayan Seva. And so that these are the daily services that happen. And on weekends, we also have devotees coming for deity dressing Srila Prabhupada. And everyone may also not have deities at home. So here they get that opportunity.
I understood from Bhagavatam that the pujari's role is that how transparently he can pass on the mercy of the deities to the audience.
The minimum criteria that we have for serving the deities in this center is that one must be chanting 16 rounds, definitely following all the 4 regulative principles, and ideally they should have also taken shelter of some Guru Maharaj. So,
the biggest event organized by Gita Reading Society every year is the Jagannath Ratha Yatra. It is held at a stadium and attracts thousands of locals annually.
So our first Ratha Yatra, I think many years ago, it was in cow farm, I think somewhere in the west side of Singapore. So it was a small cow farm, but then there were ample place to go around.
Actually, technically speaking, in Singapore, with all the regulations, it's actually difficult to have a foot procession because ideally Ratha Yatra should be foot processions, but that was not possible. So what we decided to do was, we decided to first try to have small Ratha Yatras in temples, wherever our congregations were based.
As years went by, we started thinking, if every year we keep doing the same thing, we just go around in circles in the stadium, sing kirtan, and then we have someone to come and give class, and kirtan all the way, and then prasadam. Then, how to attract people, because everyone will think it's the same thing every year. That's when we decided to have a carnival setup. We decided to put up tents, get devotees to do up like bookshops, sell art, sell games, Krishna conscious games, and then of course the main highlight of the whole place will be devotees selling prasadam, which is not in the the main prasadam itself. Curry puffs, chaat, different varieties of chaat and all that. Yeah, so we started having the shop. This would invite devotees from outside, like the other devotees, the Indian ethnic people, Chinese people coming and just just looking at what's happening, and then go to the shop and get something to eat. Talk to devotees, buy small books from Prabhupada.
There are different activities going on, especially for kids game, and delicious vegetarian prasadam is going on. We have mantra medication, 108 steps to follow, Prakrama circumambulate Tulsi Maharani. It's very nice.
This is pizza freshly made dough, and all the ingredients are freshly baked here.
मेरे पिताजी ने बोला था बड़े होके तुम कुछ नहीं करोगे पानी पूरी बेचोगे तो शायद मैं आज ये कर रहा हूँ.
No, Prabhu, I think it's all the Jagannath mercy. As we say that it's Lord who is doing everything, we are just the instrument. We should have roughly like 45 dishes altogether.
I'm enjoying the bhajans, and they have organized it very well for the people to come.
So this year, I think because of the ad campaigns, we have a lot of new registrations, and people are very enthusiastic, to register.
It's a first time experience for me, and it's a good experience experiencing a new way of praising.
A group from Indonesia, from Bali, yes. So we meet our friend here from any other countries. Thank you for this opportunity, and I hope you all be blessed by Jagannath.
We were very excited before we're coming here, and we found the devotees are so excited here, and they are so much in enthusiasm that they are arranging such a big, massive Jagannath Ratha Yatra festival. And we have seen many festivals in India, but this is equally big.
It was really very nice experience to be here, part of this Singapore Ratha Yatra festival.
Well, it was very special. It was my first Ratha Yatra that I actually played in, second that I have attended, and the energy here was amazing.
Prasadam is undisputedly the single most attractive aspect of any Krishna conscious society. Gita Reading Society spares no effort in ensuring that the highest quality prasadam is served to its members.
We have a kitchen in the center, so there's a lead cook, and then the rest of the devotees, they might get 5, 6, 7 devotees.
I maintain the roster for the main Saturday feast cooking, coordinate with the head cooks who are going to take the different Saturdays, and arrange for some supply for the kitchen.
One member who has been pivotal in the development of the cooking team is Kaushalya Mataji, who oversees the cooking of all major festivals and the Ratha Yatra. She trained the first batch of devotees to cook for large numbers of people.
So I brought them into the kitchen and I guide them how to do the cutting. They were seeing me. At first they were all very afraid. They saw the big pots and the big stove. They say, how are we going to do this? One was frying, another one was boiling, another one was just stir frying and everything. And I told them, don't be afraid. Krishna is always with us. Balaram is there to help us.
Every week there is a sponsor roster at the just at the entrance of the center, where devotees can write their name to be the sponsor for every single week. Usually people sponsor because every week is someone's birthday. If their birthdays is within the week, they will sponsor that week, either Saturday or Sunday. So there never been an issue that we had.
Hare Krishna. So today is Saturday evening. We are expecting guests around 100 to 150. So today we are planning to cook the South Indian menu. So rice, tomato dal, potato fry, and some mixed vegetable sabji. Say we have something called Boli Bhaji, which is famous in Karnataka. Sweet we are planning with Chakra Pongal. It's a sweet pongal. It's famous in Tirupati. Okay. So we have outside some devotees who are assisting us in vegetable cutting. Today we are the NTU University. So those students they are on the roster, so they have come to assist us. So every week we have a roster, there are different set of devotees who come to assist in various other services other than the main cooking inside. So there are a lot of supporting services which are needed, just like vegetable cutting, purchasing the groceries.
The Gita Reading Society holds many programs around Singapore, with the weekly program at the Cuff Road Center bringing together all the community members.
The weekend programs are the ones that allow us to connect with the devotees. We have Guru Aarti, and then we have class, Bhavida class, on Sundays Bhagavatam class, and then we have Kirtans to end, and then we serve prasadam.
Apart from programs at Cuff Road, Gita Reading Society holds many remote programs around Singapore, such as the one in Sengkang.
Singapore has clusters of Indian people everywhere. So Sengkang was one of the area where many Indians were there and not much preaching was happening. So this was observed by Gopinath Acharya Prabhu and Ramananda Rai Prabhu. They both actually took initiative, did lot of hard work, and by mercy of Lord Krishna, within few days of starting, we got various dedicated devotees who joined us, and it flourished a lot.
I think it's a very group of like-minded people who are coming, and it's inspiration for so many new persons to introduce to the movement actually.
The program also includes activities to engage children of all age groups, like frequent sloka recitations, dramas, and other cultural performances.
The kids program was very famous, and because of kids, their parents also started coming to the programs. They were very serious that every Sunday we need to go, no matter what. Kids were happy, we were happy, and the other kids' parents were happy that kids are engaged nicely and the program is going on, and they were able to hear Bhagavad Gita very attentively.
So everybody is decorated very nicely, whether girls then very nice beautiful chaniya choli or skirt blouse with the gopi dots, boys also in dhoti, kurta with whatever decoration they can do.
People were very attractive. For festivals, there used to be line outside, 200, 300 people used to come to have darshan.
Those 2-3 hours, especially Jhulan Yatra, Janmashtami, Radhashtami, Narsingh Chaturdashi, some other drama, those 2-3 hours were so mesmerizing to the newcomers.
The close-knit team of devotees running the program also take turns to volunteer to cook prasadam for the attendees.
We are having this rental hall from this one temple, so we have decided to keep a very simple prasad. Generally we expect here 80 people, but sometimes it is less also, sometimes it is more also.
Such programs are also held in other parts of Singapore, such as in Jurong.
It was in 2012 or 13, mid of that time. Srinaran Prabhu and Sugopi Mataji, they both were the initial, hard workers actually. And now our senior devotees, many people like Sudarshan Prabhu and Madan Mohan Prabhu, and they all visit or give the Tamil lecture. One unique thing I found there is our devotees, 5 or 6 families there, and they are trying to do one house program or 2 house program each by their own in their individual area. We have Tamanjurang, Dover, Boonley.
Another way Gita Reading Society reaches out to the public is through frequent house programs like Damodar programs and Bhakti Vriksha group.
Damodar programs is one of the most powerful tools through which we can reach out to many people. So that is how we got inspired to start this program. So some people have come to our program who got so inspired that they are not now in Singapore, but after leaving Singapore they have taken Krishna consciousness.
If you don't find a time, you will not get a time actually. You have to find a time for everything in life. When you find time for work, you find time for family, you have to find time for the God also.
Apart from reaching out to the general public, Gita Reading Society runs very successful university preaching programs in Singapore.
For the youths, as Radhika said, we have a strong program going, but it's the university programs that are really heartening. We have the Singapore University, SUTD, we have NTU programs, and we have the National University of Singapore. So at least at the tertiary level, devotee leaders have worked very hard to reach out to students. And I think that's because at that level of education, the stress and the pressure is very strong. Sometimes we are at a juncture where we question what's the purpose of all this.
So NUS preaching actually began somewhere around year 2002 when devotees in NUS used to just informally gather in parks and just used to discuss Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And that used to happen on and off. The consistent NUS preaching started in the year 2010 and it was a fortnightly program, and now we have moved to having weekly programs, and we have different kinds of programs. We have mantra meditation, we have think out loud sessions where we kind of discuss Bhagavad Gita. Then we have different types of seminars on stress management, Bhagavad Gita, themes from Srimad Bhagavatam, and we also have retreats every 3 to 4 months.
For instance, in 2019, many university students from NUS, NTU and SUTD were taken on a trip to the nearby Batam Ratha Yatra in Indonesia.
One of the aspects of personal growth for yourself and others, including students, is to once in a while have an immersion, like a real immersive experience, go away somewhere for a day. And in that way, this Batam Ratha Yatra has been phenomenal.
Into an energy ball with so much vibrancy and dynamics. So the entire ecosystem is so vibrant, I can really feel that.
Other than the trip to Batam, Gita Reading Society conducts many yoga retreats and seminars for its students.
Those who are coming for our programs right now are mainly from Masters and PhD. We reach out to them through a social media page, NUS Bhakti Yoga Club, which we have formed.
So in every program, when we used to do it face to face, after the program we used to serve prasadam. Then the students themselves do it. We divide the service, and I can see it's a huge commitment because they have to go back early, cook and then carry.
Every session, whatever it is, we ensure that we have 5 minutes of kirtan and we have 5 minutes of mantra meditation at least. So even if it's a seminar, it's like 45 minutes, 50 minutes of a seminar, and then we have mantra meditation and kirtan.
Interestingly, I would say 80% of the students who come, they are very readily accepting. The submissive inquiry mode is there. There are some are very inquisitive. They ask a lot of questions, and I know about students who do that and they take up very seriously eventually.
It's a great challenge because there's so many other things for them to do over an evening that it's very difficult for them to make this a priority. But what has been helpful is becoming good friends with them, because I think for many of us, the initial consistency that we had was not so much because we were convinced about the philosophy, but because We had someone who was a friend and whom we look forward to meet too.
For more serious spiritual practitioners, including unmarried students and young working professionals, a facility called Cultural Academy for Vedic Education, also known as CAVE, located near Gita Reading Society, provides opportunities to stay together and practice Krishna consciousness in like-minded association. Gita Reading Society has a very vibrant youth community. Hence, there are various groups formed for the purpose of nurturing Krishna-conscious friendships. One such group is the Gauranga Youths.
Gauranga Youths was actually started to create a non-judgmental and carefree environment for youths. Usually we try to meet either during the first week of the month or last week of the month, the first Sunday of the month or the last Sunday of the month for Mangalarti, during public holidays also, or if it's one of the Gauranga Youth's birthdays. And then we just message in the group if anyone would like to join. We try to actually come together in unity. We are unified through these activities and services. Personally feel that it is important to not just read the scriptures and do kirtans, but to also bond socially also outside of Krishna consciousness, but somehow it's still Krishna conscious, because we are with the association of devotees. It's a bit of a miracle if you become Krishna conscious in Singapore, because it's quite hard to not just become Krishna conscious, but to kind of remain Krishna conscious in Singapore.
While Gita Reading Society has a multitude of programs catering to adults, the children of Gita Reading Society are the future of the community. Hence, a lot of care and effort goes into ensuring that the children are nurtured in a holistic manner.
We cater to their needs by looking at stories, Krishna conscious stories, artwork, and these are things that appeal to them, games. So we introduce Krishna consciousness in a very fun and loving way for them. First, we reach out to them through Srimad Bhagavatam. We actually take all the pastimes of Srimad Bhagavatam and introduce it to them. They participate in dramas. Every once in 2 years, the Gopal's Garden children will put up a drama. And I think through the drama, they learn the stories. Why is it that Krishna has done this in this pastime and all that. So these very practical kind of applications, I think are important for them. We have very interactive, we actually give them verses and say, okay, from this verse, what are the key points you're going to draw out? You'll be amazed. Actually, if any adult was to sit in the children's class, and you'll be amazed at the kind of realizations that they have. Also, all glories go to their parents who, introduce it on a regular basis. What we're trying to do is we're trying to make them see that our scriptures are very meaningful in their daily lives. So sometimes they ask questions like, if I go to school and my friends actually look at my food and they say, why is it you don't eat meat? What is the arguments I can put forward without being rude? And so these are questions that are very relevant for them, and they need guidance in that area.
Gita Reading Society has a large and vibrant community of Bengali devotees. These devotees play a pivotal role in rendering services during festivals, Ratha Yatra, and cooking services.
In Singapore, we have around 700 to 800 devotees, Bengali devotees. Okay, we have those two congregation here. One is here, 13 Kaf Road. We have another one is BT Road. So like every Sunday they have program in front of Mustafa called Arya Shamas. Normally all the devotees from Bengal, and they are earning very low and they have to work this whole week. 7 days they have to work. And their working start not like 8 o'clock or something. They have to leave their dormitory by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. And sometimes they end very late. Some duty or work until 12 o'clock or 7. So after that, when they come back home, they get shower, then they cook prasad. After prasad, they then go to Namhattas. Weekly, Saturdays we have 28 Namhattas, but at the weekdays from Monday to until Friday, we have also Namhattas, but different location, 50 to 60, sometimes 100 devotees attend each Namhattas. Even though they work very hard, still they are connected with these Namhattas, and from the Namhattas, they come to know we have a center here. So they come every Sundays after work. This year in January, His Holiness Bhakti Saraswami Guru Maharaj came here and he given Diksha. We have 75 devotees, new devotees get initiation, and there's 2 devotees get second initiation. Of course, there's on beginning there's a few Namhattas, maybe maximum 3 or 4 Namhattas, and each Namhattas maybe have 20, 15 devotees, each Namhattas. But you compare now, each Namhattas we have like 100 devotees, 120 devotees. For the chanting, yes, there's a very hard time for the devotees for chanting, but they never fail to finish their 16 round every day.
In addition to having programs for the general public and the community, Gita Reading Society reaches out to the less fortunate through guiding prison inmates through prison programs and end-of-life care in hospices.
Over the 10 years, I would say we've had at least 2 or 3 prisoners who have become devotees. And they are chanting, they're reading, they come to the center. And sometimes the prison counseling team has even worked hard to match them to jobs when they come out and follow through with them. So that's very helpful. The other area that we want to do is the hospice, and that's working out quite well. It's a stage of life where people are more malleable.
A hospice is basically an organization which looks into the needs of the dying, so essentially the patients have between 3 months to maybe 4 months to live. How do you give Krishna to them? It could be in the form of hearing the Lord's name, it could be in the form of prasadam, it could be in the form of playing Vedic games, it could be in the form of even just touching them and reciting the Mahamantra into their ears. So we have a small group of very dedicated devotees who are doing this on every Friday, without fail. And you will be surprised that, the other ethnic groups, they are so excited when we chant the Mahamantra. When we sing the Mahamantra with them, there's so much of enthusiasm from them. When we play the mridanga, they also want to touch the mridanga. They also want to play the karatal. So that small little difference which we can make into the lives of people who have hardly 2 to 3 months more to live.
Gita Reading Society, through the Bhagavad Culture Society, organizes and participates in interfaith events to further religious and social harmony.
Science and religion remain the 2 most dominant forces of humanity in search for the ultimate meaning of life and the universe. Are these 2 forces reconcilable?
In the Buddhist teaching, Wu Chang Gu Ku, Ku Gu Wu, because of impermanence, hence subject to suffering. Because of suffering, then no self.
To promote inclusiveness, Gita Reading Society organizes events directly catering towards the general public in Singapore.
So many Indians have taken up Krishna consciousness, or even if an Indian doesn't take up Krishna consciousness, when he comes to a Krishna conscious program, he feels at home. It's a Vedic program. So the challenge has been over the years how other races react to that. For example, when Chinese come and see a program with so many Indians, and they feel that, this is actually an Indian social event. So we have had to have specific Chinese preaching programs. And we find that the Chinese are more receptive when you start with questions about life. Why do we suffer? What happens? Even the food is more Chinese veg. They have yoga, they have meditation. We present Krishna consciousness in that way.
Gita Reading Society organizes many outreach programs to share the message of wisdom literature such as the Bhagavad Gita.
One of them is this outreach which we have called the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. We have conducted 5 cohorts of this, and each cohort we have between 45 to 60 people. Out of this, maybe 200 who have attended our program. Probably around 35 to 40 of them have announced that their lives have changed. And the most interesting thing is that you have at least about 10 to 15% of them who are non-Indians. So all of them are really appreciating the philosophy. Because there's so much Krishna consciousness has to offer. From the philosophy side of things, from the cooking side of things, from our outreach side of things. It's an entirely holistic ecosystem.
To help share the message of the wisdom literature with interested people, Gita Reading Society places great focus on book distribution during public events like festivals and Ratha Yatra.
People from different backgrounds, they take the book. It's not confined to Indians. Many Chinese people, many foreigners, other than Indians, they also take the books. Book distribution is really amazing service, I can say from my heart, because all your senses are engaged in distribution, and you have to become very humble, and this actually brings it makes your heart soft.
Prasadam is one of the most essential and important aspects of a devotee community. Through restaurants like Gopal's, members of the Gita Reading Society provide nutritious, delicious and healthy prasadam with a diverse menu.
First, our Guru Maharaj, Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj, came to Singapore. He actually wanted a proper restaurant to be established here. So he told me, whoever you're going to employ, be it local or foreigners, you have to tell them about the 4 regulatory principles and they have to strictly follow the 4 regulatory principles. With this precondition, he said, I can employ anyone. And then he said that every day the offering has to be done by me. And Maharaj says that he will accept that offering and he will offer to Krishna. It's been 11 years now. Initially we started with one restaurant and eventually it grew to be 3 outlets, strategically located in 3 different locations. On a daily basis, we are hitting close to about 600 people.
Recently, another restaurant initiative called SWAD has been launched to reach out to a wide cross-section of society.
So it was, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Guru Maharaj's vision to have a place, as I said earlier, where not only we nourish the stomach, but also nourish the soul. Everything which is cooked is offered to the Lord first, and then it is given to the guests who come there. While they're honoring prasadam, they get to hear kirtan. We actually have specifically put in 2 verses around why prasadam is important to have from Bhagavad Gita. And our endeavor is to make sure that we keep our prasadam quality. Quality is very important. The taste obviously comes as it becomes sattvic.
Got involved in SWAD just for the purpose of providing some pure sattvic food with the concept of service.
This place is, I would say, it's cozy and not very big. And the people who run this place run it with some love.
I consider myself a foodie, and I would highly recommend if everyone has to try it out.
Gita Reading Society leaves no stones unturned to ensure devotee care is among the top priorities so as to maintain a vibrant congregation and nurture caring leaders.
What does devotee care mean? It simply means that, we put ourselves in the shoes of these newcomers. There's a lot of empathy which we exhibit, trying to understand the challenges which these people are facing and giving them time, giving them space. I think that's really important, and at the same time, we just can't leave them loose. I think it's important that, on a weekly basis, there is a constant touch with the devotees.
Why do we come to the center? We come to the center to satisfy Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual masters, and to satisfy and serve every other devotee. The last person is ourselves.
There's definitely a very loving and caring devotees around you. I mean, you can feel that intimacy, that friendliness.
All the devotees are very willingly cooperating with each other and rendering loving devotional service. I think this is one of the biggest strength of what I see in Singapore.
The president of this temple is a very bright example of leading from the front, because I know, I am feeling inspired by him, and personally I know many other devotees are feeling very inspired by his example. His behavior, his conduct, his character is such great that others just follow him.
So, it was just because of this community that, we felt very homely and safe and protected. So I think definitely all who are coming to Singapore must be feeling the same way, that we have somewhere called our own home and our own people here who really care for us, who really love and support us in every way. Devotees who have gone from here also keep telling us, please stay in Singapore. Don't leave Singapore. You don't know what you're going to miss leaving Singapore. Yes.